To start us off, I would like to turn the mic over to Najla Habibia to my left. Najla is the Chief of Party for the USAID project in Kabul that you know as KCEC. Chief of Party is the highest office in the project, and we would call it CEO. I've known Najla since 2010, and she's been a constant and capable supporter of the Afghan carpet trade and its hundreds of thousands of women weavers. I would like to ask Najla to kick off her agenda and tell us about her work in Afghanistan. But before, I just want to let you all know that you are not in your own foxholes. You have many friends in this COVID-19 battle we are in. Continue your conversations, reach out to each other, and stay in touch. All of our businesses will be changed, and every day we realize the breadth of the forces at work. We are able to adapt. We all know of businesses that will never be the same again, restaurants. But I want to suggest one that you may not have thought of, razor blades. Throughout the quarantine, men have stopped shaving, or at least begun to shave every couple of days. We learned yesterday during our rehearsal for today, we saw many of our industry associates and friends who are sporting nice new beards. The point is that no business is being left unchanged during these unimaginable times. Razor blades, who'd have thought? One more thing before we start. I would like to dedicate this event today to our dear departed friend, Ramin Mobian, who, no doubt, is looking down on us today and smiling. With that, let me pass it to Najla Habibia.
Thank you so much, Rob. That was very elaborative, and I hope I will stand to the expectation that you have from me. Good morning, everyone. Thank you from everyone for joining us today. It's a very, very important event for KCEC because it's one of the important events that we have all of you together with us. And we will be talking about what we are doing and how we would like to seek your help in terms of supporting Afghans to reach out to international market. As Rob mentioned, Kabul Carpet Export Center, which is known as a KCEC, is one of the USAID funded project. It's under AJSP, Afghanistan Job Creation Program. So that says a lot about us. We're focusing on creating jobs for Afghans and particularly women, because of the industry, as you all know, has been known one of the industry that women has been involved immensely in it. But unfortunately, women have not been directly taking the benefit from this particular product that they are making. KCEC was established in year 2018. It's a 3-year fixed-term project. This project is actually supporting all the manufacturers in different levels. We have four pillars that we call it. First, the capacity building. So we are working with the manufacturer to help them understand the international market standards. We also have support of one of our biggest subcontractors, Label Step, to ensure that we take care of the child labor in this particular project, making sure that carpets which are waved in Afghanistan are meeting the international requirements. The other one is basically marketing. Through the marketing, we do have events as such, but at the same time, we used to have particular events, exhibitions, fairs, and roadshows. But unfortunately, due to COVID-19, everything has been affected. We haven't been able to take part in any of them. The world has changed for everyone, and so for KCEC. The other portion which we are supporting the manufacturer are our loan management. Basically, we are supporting them to meet their buyers' requirement and help them financially to be able to prepare those carpets on a timely basis. We also help them in terms of exporting. One of the other area that we are supporting them is helping them understand how they would be able to pack and ship the carpets from Afghanistan, and also help them understand the time value that's required for any buyer in international markets, and that they need to value that one. I'm sure we have Afghan partners today joining us today in this call. They definitely have been one of the most important people that has supported KCEC to run in the last 2 years. The my main thing has been one of the main area that why carpet has been picked by the USAID. Carpet has been one of the largest industry for Afghan economy after agriculture. Of course, agriculture is one of the major industry, but following to that, one of the most big industry that has supported Afghan economy has been carpet. The reasons are very visible because of lack of literacy in Afghanistan, and for women particularly to be unable to go out of the home and work in offices, and the culture barriers that we do have in Afghanistan. This industry has been very favorable for all those Afghans, particularly women in the north and also in the east of Afghanistan, that they could actually stay in home, take care of their children, but at the same time, they can actually contribute to their economy, they can sustain. And also saying that with the COVID-19, everything is different. With the COVID-19, we have been witnessing a lot of businesses going to shut down, and at the same time, women have not been able to produce more carpets, because currently the carpets that have been produced in Afghanistan are stocked in the market, and they are not able to order more because they have to sell it out. And one of the major problems the COVID-19 has brought to Afghanistan and also to the world has been the freight, because of the suspension of a lot of freight and also the customs problem. That has been one of the major problems. So where KCEC comes, and here KCEC is trying to support them in terms of helping them find markets for the carpets that are currently in the market and sell it for them so they can actually start earning more. This particular project, I want to say, is just not only helping the manufacturers because of the economic sustainability in Afghanistan, but this is also one of the projects that are contributing to the social welfare of Afghans, particularly women that are involved in this whole in the whole program. I believe that carpet has been one of the most important one, and every one of you have been involved in it. You know how beautiful the art of the carpets are in Afghanistan, and these women that are actually elaborating some of the pieces that they are making, and Alex definitely will talk more about it, are basically the arts that they are going through the lives. So this is more of a history of Afghans and the carpets that we have. But with the market dynamics that are there, of course, there has been some issues and problems. I'm gonna leave because I can talk for hours, but I will definitely spare you guys from that. One of the things I really pledge today is that supporting Afghan women in particular with the purchasing carpets from Afghanistan is going to support all those women to sustain their lives, to help them actually earn money, not only for their own taking care of their families, but also to take care of their children's education, because that is the most important thing for Afghans to continue survive all these problems that they have suffered throughout the years. But at the same time, this is going to help them actually be sustainable, because most of the women who are part of Afghan community, like 50% of Afghan women aren't able to go to schools, aren't able to actually work. I sometimes say I do not represent Afghan women in real, because I have been privileged with a good, like a lot of opportunities in my life, but most of them have not been. So that is my main motto, to help all those Afghan women to actually reach out to international markets. And I think that's what KCEC is focusing for. Saying that, I would just like to end my talks, but I will hope to hear back from all of you the way of how KCEC can help you, because KCEC representation in Afghanistan is basically to support the buyer, but at the same time, the manufacturer. Because how we will support the buyer, we would be their eyes and ears in Afghanistan to help them meet whatever their requirements are. To help them understand whatever their design samples would be. We have a quality control team that actually is taking care of that particular portion and making sure that things comes on time. That is what is our main job in Afghanistan, but the project will be handed over one of Afghan companies later on to follow up the work that we are doing. Because previously it was difficult for all the international buyers to visit Afghanistan and actually start purchasing. because of the security issues, and that's what KCEC actually come in. So before wrapping up, I would like to introduce Graham, who has been an amazing person. We just had a very small talk yesterday. I learned a lot from him, a very inspirational person. He has been someone who was dedicated 30 years of life to the carpet industry. And with that, he has been just retired in January as a president of ABC in New York. So currently, we would like to know more about how he feels that this evolution in the carpet industry has been, and what is his points for us, particularly for KCEC, and how we would be able to help Afghan manufacturers overall. So Graham, I'm handing it over to you, and thank you everyone for your participation once again.
Thank you very much. Good morning. It's an interesting period, this COVID period. It's given me time for reflection. And I thought I'd break down this little short talk into 3 different periods, or 3 different subjects. One will be reflection, how we got where we are. One will be the last 30 years, which has been quite an extraordinary creative period within our industry. And lastly, the future, which obviously I can't talk too much about, but I can certainly give some opinions. I came into the rug business in a rather strange way, but I came into the rug business in a very tumultuous period. The Iranian Revolution, the fall of the Iron Curtain, really transformed the world that I was living in and that I was dealing with. This did 2 things. One, the creativity and passion and love of carpets that Iranian people have. The seeds of this love and passion were all of a sudden spread all over the world. Combined with the lack of access of Persian carpets, forced them to go and find other countries, find other productions, and use that incredible knowledge and expertise to basically create a new business. The fall of the Iron Curtain obviously affected Afghanistan very dramatically, and Central Asia very dramatically, and Tibet very dramatically, creating refugees fleeing all over the world, again, throwing these seeds of the rug business out into the business. My history is I went from working for a high-end home furnishing department store in London to a English manufacturer of carpets and distributor of carpets, to coming to New York to sell a company that we own called Fritz & LaRue, and then finally migrating my way through to an old warehouse in New York City on the top floor of 888 Broadway, which became the 6th floor of ABC Carpets. During the Industrial Revolution, the backlash to machine-made perfection was the arts and crafts revolution. Victorian England showed off to the world what could be done by machine. William Morris and the arts and crafts movement said, there's still a charm in something being done by hand that is unique and indigenous. Go forward 130 odd years, we now have this computer revolution. Everyone tells us CAD can do everything better, everything can be done on e-commerce, artificial intelligence is the way to go. I think there's going to be a revolution away from this mass-made perfection to carpets, you know, the art of the carpet being appreciated much more. I think we've got to do several things. We have to listen to what the customer is telling us and create products that work around that. That's my sort of reflection. I came into the business when Indo-Aubusson and 90-line Chinese carpets were all the rage. We developed other qualities, went on to 160-line Chinese. You look at those carpets now and they look like they should be in a museum. The last 30 years has actually been quite extraordinary for the creativity of the carpet business. Try and think back. There was no vegetable dyeing done. or very little. The weaver was not a partner in the designing process. We didn't use hand-spun wool. We didn't even have Tibetan carpets. All these mainstays of our production today have all been created in the last 30 years. Gabets didn't exist. Patchworks didn't exist. Overdyeing didn't exist. Recycled sari yarns didn't exist. Ikat, a more feminine revolution that took place later with bright colors and things, didn't exist. There were no women in the rug business. So the last 30 years has been quite an incredible period. The amount of production that has gone through to people's homes over the last 30 years is truly astounding. All the rule books have got thrown out, haven't they? This carpet must have so many borders, it must be done in this color, it must be done with that medallion. Everything got thrown out. And I think this is something that is really due to almost, there's a wonderful expression of, you know, God gives you 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. I think what the internet has done to us is forced us to have to listen to what the customer is actually wanting to buy and not telling them what to buy. I was talking to Rob yesterday about the first time I bought a car. Basically, you went onto the lot and they told you that I want you can have a black car with a blue seating arrangement, or you can have a blue car with a black seating arrangement, and that was it. Today, the customer is going to tell you what they want to buy, and if we're not prepared to supply it, they will buy it somewhere else, or they will spend their money on something else. I've been incredibly fortunate because I've been able to travel to some of the most extraordinary places in the world and meet some of the most creative people that I've ever met in my life. I think the world will look very positively on the last 30 years. I think it is almost a revolution. It is something that is really, when you look back at this period, it will be a period of great creativity. And I think people will look very fondly at what has been done and what has been created. Going to the future, who knows? I can tell you the one concern that I have is that the people of my generation had a passion for the product and a love for the product that I think we have a responsibility to pass on to the next generation. I honestly achieved something that I try to advise my children. I blurred the lines between work and play. There were many times I would wake up in the morning in Istanbul and think on my vacation, I would go looking for old rugs and textiles. And in my business life, I had to go and look for old rugs and textiles. I was very fortunate that we had this incredible space on the 6th floor of ABC that was a canvas for this new production of carpets that came through. I was lucky to have an owner who was prepared to finance my indulgences and finance advertising, finance promoting, and finance spreading the word of these amazing pieces of art to the outside world. In the same way, probably, that Liberties did it in London for the Arts and Crafts Revolution, I think the 6th floor of ABC played quite a large role in being a showplace for the great carpets that we were able to produce. That's my perspective. I could go into any of the categories that we've spoken about, but it's forced me to look back and think of almost all of these sort of movements that came about. They were almost like new art movements. When they were first done, I remember that when they first brought in the patchwork carpets, I remember my owner almost throwing me out of the store because he just couldn't believe how bad they were until they sold very well. The recycled sari carpets, the same product. Anything that's revolutionary, anything that's different is not easy to sell. It takes time. You've got to believe in it, you've got to be passionate about it. And all of these things came about in most cases by me finding a little sample somewhere in the back of a showroom where someone had just experimented with something. It wasn't what you wanted, but you thought it had the potential to be it. And I think that we've got to understand now that all the rules have been broken. Anything goes. Don't be afraid of doing anything. Look at the amount of fabrics, the amount of flat weaves, the amount of high-lows. Tufted carpets didn't exist. The Tibetan carpet didn't exist. It's quite extraordinary, the last 30 years, what we've done. The question is now, how do we go forward from that point? And I'm actually very excited about it, but I think that we all have to pass on this passion that we have for the product to the next generation and make sure that they really love what they're doing and are passionate about it. I think that's about it for me. Any questions or anything that I can point people in a direction on, or fill in any gaps that I've missed out?
So, Graham, we don't have any questions yet, and unfortunately, we've lost the group here in Charleston. They're reconnecting right now.
Okay.
So,
I can ramble on for hours.
No, let's not do that. What I'm going to do is introduce Michael to go into the next segment. But we appreciate you being here very much. Thank you very much for your time yesterday and today. Okay. And now I'm going to introduce Michael Christie. If you could unmute Michael, that would be great.
Very good. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Thank you, Andrew. My name is Michael Christie, and I'm the editor of Rug Insider magazine. Many of you may also know me by my online persona, anon the plume, if you will, as the Ruggist. I'm exceptionally pleased to be here today because I believe the shared information and the resulting knowledge to be gained is critical to the evolution of mankind, and thus all of our endeavors, including, of course, hand-knotted rugs and carpets, which is why we're all here. I'm here today, along with other trade media leaders, as Rob has described us, to bring you, and I quote, organized thought processes that are needed in these troubled times, end quote. While I cannot speak for the others, I'm humbled to share my thoughts, organized or otherwise, amongst such great company. This year represents a historically significant manifestation of the English expression attributed falsely as an old Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times. For indeed, in 2020, there is little shortage of topics easily described as either troubling or interesting or both. The COVID pandemic being foremost amongst them. Simply put, the changes necessitated by the pandemic, the euphemistically vague times in which we live, cannot be overstated. They are profound, they are swift, and they shall influence this industry for years to come. Our reaction to these external factors, how we shape ourselves in the industry to better meet the demands of not only today, but tomorrow as well, are critically important to everyone involved in the production of rugs and carpets. Perhaps none more so than weavers and other laborer positions, production, if you will, upon which this entire industry is built. Please allow me to say that regardless of what I, or if I may be so bold to assert, any of us speaking here today have to say about the industry, our views generally, though not only, represent the perspective of those who trade in rug and carpets, not those who actually craft them. To genuinely consider why production shifts, one must examine the needs and wants of not only consumers, but of those like me, those like you, and those who sit at looms to weave. Only if we elevate these concerns on par with others will we be able to adapt in ways which not only allow us to endure the pandemic, but also prepare the industry to meet the demands of emerging consumer demographics, as Graham rightly pointed out. And that should be the realization. The door is closing on this period of hand-knotted rug production, and so it would behoove us all to think as broadly as possible. As we are already forced to adapt and change, is it not wise, I ask rhetorically, to think both macro and micro, short and long term? The answer is, of course, yes, it is wise. But as 2020 has thus far proven, wisdom is not always in favor with the winds of history. Joining me today are three highly knowledgeable individuals who will each speak in turn on the status of production in each of three major rug producing countries: India, Nepal, and Afghanistan. Unrepresented, however, are handfuls of other countries, including Iran, Pakistan, Turkey, Peru, Morocco, China, et al. This is not to say these countries no longer contribute to the trade, far from it in actuality, but the evolution of the production of hand-knotted carpets is such that it shifts throughout time from locale to locale. This is why our focus today is on the aforementioned three. India, because it represents better than 2/3 of hand-knotted production globally. Afghanistan, because it is perhaps the next great frontier. And Nepal, because it remains unmatched in the ability to produce made-to-order carpets to exacting specifications. In the case of the latter, it is also a country whose recent history provides great insight into what happens when weaving and the 21st century meet head-on. So what can we learn? While I shall leave it for a later guest to speak specifically on Nepal, there are several highlights from other countries which illustrate the shifts in production. For example, in China, the manual labor of weaving has been largely supplanted by robo-tufting and other labor positions, rug or otherwise, which offer better pay, better conditions, and better, more immediate means of social improvement. Ever-vacillating sanctions have long imperiled Iran, though artistic expression and finesse remain arguably high. The long extant making of rugs in Morocco is still at the fringe of Western ideals of production, yet it is precisely this je ne sais quoi which endears itself to certain consumer segments. Turkey's production of hand-knotted and hand-woven is now greatly diminished in volume as well, though one could argue its stature remains quite high. Also high is the caliber of machine-made rugs and carpets now produced in Turkey. While this forum here today is focused on hand-knotted, only a foolish individual would ignore completely rugs, increasingly refined both aesthetically and technically. These power loom pieces and the underlying techniques of their manufacture
we're going to come back to Graham.
Present the same risks that have imperiled hand weaving since the original Luddites railed against industrialization. Technology, however, is not our enemy. Staid refusal to adapt is. As evidenced by this very conference, this roundtable, we now hold in our hands, perhaps literally, the power to communicate anywhere at any time with veritably anyone. I believe this, along with our cumulative information and knowledge, gives us a strategic advantage as we look to move beyond what has been toward a new future for weaving and the trade of handmade carpets. With that, I would now like to welcome Mr. Gaurav Sharma of OBT to speak on the production situation in India. Mr. Sharma, if you would, please.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. We are cutting across different time zones. And I'm reporting for you from Mirzapur in India, which we like to believe is the center of universe. So COVID-19, that is something which hit us and hit us hard without our being really ever prepared about it. People like Bill Gates and others had talked about these kind of situations, but we always somehow felt that it's either a science fiction or it shouldn't happen to us, it might happen to somebody else. But it did happen, and so here we are talking about it. When the Indian carpet industry got hit by COVID-19, we were hit on both ends. We were hit on a customer's side, most of them being in the Western world or other parts everywhere. The shops were down, the businesses were down, and the business had slowed down. We had difficult situations in our industry. We had many vendors, manufacturers, whose orders were canceled, were either pushed out if they were lucky, payment terms renegotiated, discounts almost forced out of them. It was a very difficult situation. Some manufacturers was a bit fortunate who were working with retailers who are more organized, who have very strong online presence, at least in the US where online deliveries were possible. But those were mainly limited to the lower end price product. On the other hand, when we look at our production, the situation was equally grim. the Indian government came down very hard. The first 3 weeks, we had a complete lockdown. It was like curfew situation. There was no movement allowed. The first 8 weeks was a huge struggle. Our company OBT was fortunate that we could manage to open in the 4th week itself. But for the first 2.5 months, it was like swimming against the tide. We had situations where we were not being able to get our yarns from the mills. We were in a situation where our raw materials could not be sent to the weavers who were ready to weave, who were eager to weave because they are on a daily wage. We were in a situation that our staff, and when I say our, it means everybody in the industry, could not connect with the weavers. And the weavers could not connect with us. Their carpets were ready, their payments were ready, but there was no way to do it. We, in our own company, did a lot of huge efforts to try and get to the workers, to the weavers, pay them their dues, give them the required yarns, but it was really a huge struggle. And this was right across the industry, whether you talk of Bhadoi, Mirzapur, Jaipur, Agra, northern part of India, in Kashmir, everywhere it was not a good situation. Then what we were hit with was a lot of the migrant weavers left their workplace, and it was an exodus of thousands and thousands of workers going back to their villages through undertaking very difficult journeys. There were people who actually died going back home in those journeys. Having said that, those 8 to 10, 12 weeks passed, things started settling down. So when I say settling down, the cases are only on the rise. But all of us seem to have taken it in our stride that this is, and this could be, the way of life for the next a year or 2 years, we don't know. And things must go on, work must go on, life must go on otherwise. But particularly people who are in the artisanal sections of the society, the weavers, the finishers, the washers, they cannot just be sitting at home. They need work. And so it was a tough situation. On the one hand, the buyers had canceled orders or pushed them out. On the other hand, now we have weavers and workers back who are willing to work. But we can see a huge drop in the work which is available for hand-knotted carpets in India. In general, demand is down. Weavers don't have much work. There are some companies who are fortunate to have the orders to get them executed, but that's more of an exception, I would say. What we also see is that the same, and it's affecting not just the weavers, it's affecting the mills which spin the yarns. It's affecting the dye houses which dye, right across the whole supply chain. Everybody is suffering at this point of time. The unfortunate part also is that a lot of what I see here is that a lot of exporters are looking at shifting their product category. They are expecting that with the COVID-19 situation, they don't know how long this will go on. The demand for hand-knotted may just either not be there for too long or just die out completely. And they have to do some work. So they are going into handloom, double back hand looms, jacquards, different product categories by which they think, and I'm sure they're right, that they can get into a different segment of customers, which has end consumers who are, because of the lesser price, they're willing to buy online, and there will be some business. And that, unfortunately, is happening at the expense of the hand-knotted industry. The sad part also is that some of those weavers are struggling, and not many people have come forward to help support them, because of whom the businesses have run for decades and generations. So that is where we are. And, I know my 5 minutes are just getting up. So where do we go from now? India is a very big player for carpet making and knotted carpet making. the rug making. And we are at a crossroad. The world as we knew has ceased to exist. The big question is, what will be the new norm? How will the carpets be sold? How will the selection by the customer be made? How will it reach the end consumer? I think what I have experienced over the last 3 to 4 months, technology is the key. Vendors and customers both, manufacturers and exporters, retailers both, will have to invest a lot in technology. How do you show your product? How can you ensure you engage your customer? How can you get the newness to them? That will be the key. And the other would be, as Graham had said earlier, we'll have to reimagine the product. What is going to be the product in the new norm, in the new thinking? Will it be something which is antibacterial? Some kind of processes need to get in, just people are getting sensitive. The talk about circular products, people are more conscious about sustainability, upcycle, recycle. So these are the words. After the recession, the good thing was that the rule book was thrown out of the window. What was defined as a carpet was no longer a carpet. Anything could be a carpet. And after those 12 years, we've again come to the same place where maybe the floor covering will be redefined. The way we sell it will be redefined. Those who sell it, they may be redefined. So it's a very, we are at a crossroad. Let's see what fate brings for all of us. But all I can say is everybody needs to hang in there. I would still say we need to support the weavers, and to support Graham, handmade, I believe, will be still something which will be a niche, which will come back with a bang. But people need to hang in there and just adopt technology. We need to reach out to the customer. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Gaurav. We're now going to turn to Mr. Ryan Higgins, owner of Tamarian, who will speak on his thoughts on Nepal and the status of weaving there. Mr. Higgins, please.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you very much, Rob, for inviting me to take part in this. I really appreciate it. Since taking the lead here at Tamarian, I've worked to ensure in the last several months that our core values have remained relatively unchanged, but enhanced and adopted for the time period. And that simply is beautiful rugs, inventory, innovation, at a fair price for a sustainable future, if I could just sum it up that way. Nepal is the heart of our business, and you know, Nepal, for as long as I've been in this business now, which is going on 25 years, has never been without some kind of major challenge or catastrophe. The royal family was assassinated. That gave rise to the Maoist uprising. The revolution lasted for years and affected business. And actually that is partly where some of our manufacturers came into their greatest strength. There was a blockade where India blocked the southern border for a long time. There was, previous to that, there was the earthquake. And now we have COVID. COVID is unlike any other challenge that they face, but every other challenge that Nepal has faced is unlike the previous as well. So I think to that point, it would speak to Nepal's resiliency. They can adapt almost to, to anything. I mean, these are some of my best friends and some of the greatest people I know. And being that Nepal's production is run mostly by Tibetan refugees, they're no stranger to difficult times in their own lives or the lives of their parents who had to flee from their homeland and actually remain refugees in Nepal to a certain extent. So these are great, great resilient people, and I'll just leave it at that. They will continue. The current situation in Nepal is that there's a lockdown right now. It's just been extended to September 2nd today, and it may continue. But throughout that production has remained steady. We do our part to get materials and supplies well in advance, 6 to 9 months out. And whenever we can, we get our raw materials. So production has remained relatively steady. Although throughout the course of the Maoist revolution, production had decentralized, we've done our part to kind of bring it back together into larger weaving facilities, but not like previous ones where you would have thousands of weavers. But now maybe we have, you know, hundreds of weavers within certain facilities as we've continued to improve them. So the biggest thing that we've been facing is shipping delays. We've been trying to get rugs out. They travel over land for containers to go out via sea. And so there's all these delayed points along the way, and air freight has been extremely costly and kind of catch as catch can getting on flights out of Nepal. So that has affected business on our on the retail trade showroom side of delivering products to our clients. So we're working to continually address that. That's really a day-by-day issue. However, the current state of the lockdown that they're facing right now, as we speak, is that it may actually benefit weaving as weavers choose not to go home for the holiday that's upcoming, and usually Nepal shuts down for a couple months during the holiday. So I think that kind of, you know, again, it's just such a fluid situation, as everybody knows. What I say today may be affected by something completely different tomorrow. I think there's an asteroid headed our way. So that may take care of a lot of our problems. So we'll see. Thanks. At any rate, so the impact on the wholesalers that I've spoken to is generally the same. I mean, I've talked to my friends who do Indian production, Danny at French Accents, and I speak regularly, and we share a lot of the same clients, and he's suffering a lot the same way that we are. However, you know, people are subject to the geography of where they are and what the situation is there. So if you're in New York City and you were shut down for 3 solid months without mail, your situation is going to be slightly different than ours here in Maryland. So it really is kind of where you're located, what part of the country you're in terms of dealing with these types of issues. So I think it's better to let other people speak on that themselves. But most everybody is having somewhat of similar troubles with shipping and getting shipments out of the respective country and into port. And so hopefully that will be resolved. But as Gaurav said, I think that I'm anticipating 12 to 18 months of continued uncertainty. That's my anticipation, just based on the general feeling of what the crystal ball is showing me right now. So the ways the market is affected right now, what we're seeing is the movement of existing inventory has been one of our strongest abilities to survive throughout this. So it gives us flexibility, the ability in terms of pricing. We can discount a lot easier product that's here in country that we've already owned, and we can deliver it quickly before, like I said asteroid comes and we can get paid on it. So, as opposed to taking orders. So, so we're working definitely with our inventory in creative ways to help our clients out wherever possible. And so I feel like what's going to continue to happen, and again, it's interesting listening to other people's viewpoint, because at least from the Nepal situation, I feel like the strong bonds will become stronger. You know, there's this kind of 4-part supply chain that begins with the customer and then goes to the trade showroom or the retailer, and then to us, the wholesaler, and then to the manufacturer or exporter. And what I have seen, and the greatest difficulty we faced in the past several years, is that, you know, the disruption to that chain. And so as people who were buying 1 or 2 or 3 rugs continue to cancel orders from their suppliers, it strengthens our link to Nepal, or, you know, the little bit we do in India. It just strengthens that bond. So it's my belief that technology will help enhance that. People will learn to use technology to enhance their own inner being and their own place in the chain, as opposed to using it to usurp the chain, which I think is kind of what the common theme has been for this past few years. And that disruption has kind of created all this uncertainty, the kind of shakeup, if you will. So I think that we're going to see the benefits of being in your respective place, because you're limited, you know, by all these other things, by COVID, by social unrest, by this, by that. And so you really have to look inward to see what you can do with what you have in front of you. You know, you have to use your own resources as opposed to try and pry off of somebody else's resources. And I am a firm believer that hand-knotted rugs will continue to be a sought-after luxury home necessity. And I think that it's not a luxury item in the sense that it's like, can you have it, can you not have it? I think a rug is a necessity in a house. It's a human need. You need a soft place to walk. You need a soft place to sit. I don't know that I've ever been in a home without a rug. And as long as there is some level of wealth, which by all indicators, the rich have gotten richer, there is wealth, and people want to continue to have high-end products. This, to me, isn't just wishful thinking, it's more common sense. You know, the rugs also speak to, the hand-knotted rugs speak to everything that people want today, something environmentally sustainable, something beautiful. And while different elements of the weaving process may be automated or industrialized to a degree, the handcraft nature is what's going to kind of reach deeper and make that human connection. It's the process, it's not just the product. So I think that it's very likely that after we work through this phase of COVID, that we'll be in a much better place with the hand-knotted rugs. And so for the future of sales, I kind of feel like it's going to change. There's going to be more sampling. We're working on sampling products out differently than we have in the past to reach the end user easier. To assist our retailers and trade showrooms in reaching them. And I think that Zoom obviously has become a huge part of doing business right now. I'm on a call almost daily, much to my chagrin. But I think there will be also still some limited but more focused trade shows. We actually did attend Atlanta. We may have been the only people there. I personally was not there, but we had one sales representative there who was able to show the product. And I think ultimately, because it's a hand-knotted product, you can use technology to kind of work with this, but I cannot, you know, say here, you know, you guys do love this, right? This is beautiful, right? While you're at it, call me, it's on sale right now. But no, it's a great way to show product, but you still need to touch it. You need the hand, you need to see the colors with your own eyes. So I think there's still going to be that human component that cannot be changed or replaced. So I'll let you know how that goes. I do have a special announcement on September 1st. We'll begin a partnership with Label Step, and that also speaks to the sustainability and us, the holistic approach of reaching the weavers themselves, trying to do our part to improve the life of the weaver, because it's a whole cycle, and the cycle is circular. And being at one end of the process, we need to make sure that we're giving back to the creators if we want this to continue. So I think that that's very important that we finally take that step. So I think in closing, again, thank you for letting me speak. I'd just like to say that we will continue to put our full effort, not only into the survival of the rug industry, but to the success of the entire rug industry. So your success is interwoven into our success. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. I'm sure there'll be some questions for you as well. Next, we'll welcome Mr. Alex Zahir, who will provide a brief update on Afghanistan and how people are working to incorporate Afghan rug making into the modern era. Mr. Zahir, the screen is yours.
Michael, thank you. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Let me take this opportunity to thank my partners, Rob Leahy sitting next to me, and Richard Ringrose, if you are seeing us, if you are on in London, thank you very much. Stephen Lundrigan, another partner, Najla Habibiar, Mr. Mateen, and all those men and women that help us in Kabul office. I'm Alex Zahir, production director for KCEC. I think it is a good opportunity to thank American people. It comes from USAID's project and Afghan people. Let me tell you this, Afghan people with their product will not let you down if you are a buyer of their product or if you are a user of their product. From today's meeting, I've heard one of the best messages I've heard was embrace technology. Embrace technology is what I've been working on, telling my Afghan colleagues, weavers, and they've done it. After years of experience now, designs are created by computerized software and a whole lot of, dealing with Afghanistan. I've heard before that the packing lists were not good, certification, and everything is up to date. Afghanistan is up to date to meet your demand. But let me, before I come to that, let me categorize the quality. I wanted to talk about the Afghanistan rug quality. I want to categorize it into two. One is open market, what we call open market bazaar product that is not made specifically on order. They just made it out of something. That's one. That's what you see in Kabul Street or in Mazar or Major Afghan, and sometimes they are cheaper, sometimes in New York also. The other quality is custom designs. Custom design is what, let me assure you before I go through this, you will get what you expect, you will get what you order. That is something I can, my background is from a rug weaving family from Afghanistan. And I do that, and I know most of the Afghan manufacturer, and their message to you all is thank you first, and you can count on us. And quality, in my definition, is not only baft, what we call in Farsi baft, weaving or knotting. It's not only that, it is what goes into that, including quality of the materials, dye quality, and the twist of it, and the knotting type. Right now, something came in my mind, and I don't want to take too much time of yours, but there is more customers for Afghan yarn, Afghan wool than Afghan carpet. That's something new from India. I can come up with the names of those companies who were shopping for Afghan yarn. The other obstacle that maybe in some of your minds were washing and finishing material dependent on import. And now that is being supplied by Tashkent from Russia somewhere. So there are multiple sources for chemical materials. Professional packing is something we do in KCEC, subsidize air freight, clean airway bill, and certification, of course, is label stuff right here that we partnered with, and they will certify it's not child labored or forced labored. 20–30% less if you bought customized rugs from Afghanistan because you are buying it from the main source. By the way, Afghanistan is one of the countries that would be the future of rug weaving. People talked about Turkey diminishing. Afghanistan has got thousands and thousands of weavers, skilled weavers, not discovered recently in the past 30 or 40 years, but they've been weavers for centuries, and we are just enhancing them. And the most important part of buying products from Afghanistan is empowering women and the most needy, poorest people, and it touches, sad to be, millions of people's lives. This industry touches from what we call sheep to shop, touches quite a bit people's life and very less privileged people. And talking about Afghan carpets, Afghan rugs, we cannot not talk about Pakistan. It's interwoven, and Pakistanis are huge buyers and huge resellers of Afghan carpets. So it is there. Thank you very much. I won't take too much time, but your orders will be with our guarantees. You know, with KCEC is one of the reasons KCEC was built. The idea behind this man was behind of that idea was facilitate your order, guarantee your payment to Afghans, and guarantee you the best product that you expected from Afghan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. It seems as though we don't have any questions who have come in, or which have come in. So I think I would just summarize one thing Ryan said, which stuck out, adapting technology to the industry and not adapting industry to technology. I think that's a very key point. And then everyone who's spoken so far, and I imagine we'll hear from others, the importance of the industry to improving the lives of people in the countries who produce. So with that, I will send this back to Rob Leahy, who will then introduce my esteemed colleague, Tim Steinert from Carpet Magazine. Thanks for having me today, and I look forward to listening to everyone else with the rest of you. Have a great day.
Michael, thank you very, very much. We lost our internet connection here as I was to have introduced you. I apologize for that. We had to switch networks. But you have been a friend to me for many years, and I want to say how much fun it is, how much fun you bring to our business, and you should be complimented, and we appreciate that. Thank you for your time. We are running longer than we planned, but with the lack of questions gives us a chance to catch up, so that's not a bad thing. However, remember, if anybody has questions at any point, they send it to questions@kcec.af, regardless of what segment, and we can go back and ask the question of the person you'd like to see it asked of. Now I'd like to move to the selling side and introduce another good friend of mine, Tim Steinert with Carpet Magazine. Tim is a son of a owner of a conglomerate of trade magazines in Germany, and he has taken to the carpet business of late and become very expert. I don't think anyone has as much passion for this business, whether it be the product itself or the distribution of it, than Tim. So Tim, let me give it to you, and with my thanks.
Hello, and thank you for the nice introduction. Also, thank you, Michael. It was very interesting. Before I forget it, I also want to show you this. If anyone has any questions to me or the speaker, just write an email. So it would be a missed opportunity if we don't ask all the experts that will come now about their opinions. First, I'd like to introduce myself. Of course, we already had an introduction. I'm Tim Steinert. I'm the editor-in-chief and publisher of Carpet Magazine. That looks like this. And today I have the honor to bring you through the second part of this virtual roundtable, and the topic will be retail and wholesale. So you will learn everything about the situation in Europe and the US when it comes to the selling of rugs. Yeah, also in this sector, we have to discuss the COVID-19 crisis a lot. Unfortunately, I would love to have another topic, but of course, this is the main topic. And in retail, we have to say that we have some companies who had a better time the last month than others. And for sure, we can say that everyone who is in online business had a very good time in April and May. And this comes to retail and wholesale. So even I heard of some wholesalers who are specialized in giving services to online retailers. They were not able to deliver any goods in May. So I think they had a very good time. On the other side, it means that all people who were running brick and mortar shops had big problems because we had a lockdown almost everywhere on this planet. So there were almost no sales possible. On the good side, I have to tell you that in May, June, and July, the numbers of sales were not too bad. So it's when before there was more sales for machine-made carpets because the online business is mainly machine-made. Also, higher quality handmade carpets were sold in the time between May and July. So it seems that these months were better than the years before. We also see that we have a trend in cocooning. So it seems that the people spend more money on their interior. They are not traveling too much because they cannot or don't want to. And of course, people don't go to restaurants as often, so they take more love into their homes. But I think I leave this to my speakers that I want to introduce to you right now. We have Fritz Langauer from Oritop, Stefan Amstadt from Möbel Pfister, Jack Simmentop from Art Resources, and Sam Presnell from the Rug Gallery in Cincinnati. First, I would like to introduce you to Fritz Langauer. He will tell you everything about the situation in wholesale in Europe. He is in business now for more than 60 years, speaks Turkish, fluent Farsi, and is the owner of the company Oritop that is specialized in Afghan carpets. So I would like to give the microphone now to Fritz.
Hello, do you hear me?
Wonderful, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you for the invitation. I'd like to talk a little bit about the wholesale problems which we have because of COVID, but I see the whole thing not so bad. I see some good future. As Tim told, people are cocooning. We have the experience that our customers started to sell after the lockdown. And I know some people, some customers, they even made the loss up, which they had because of the few months ago. So I don't see anything bad in the future. Instead of that, I see we have the chance because of people don't spend their money for vacation and for other things in restaurants, but I think they will spend more and more for interiors, and this is also an oriental carpet. For me, I have to say that this is important to me. To me, Afghanistan is the very last country which produces rugs, not only by hand, but rugs with soul and with individuality. Afghanistan rugs are much different from many, many other rugs today, and Afghanistan had the chance because of these refugees problems, and because of some American and European, they started new production in Pakistan. Most of these people came back to Afghanistan now, but in this time, the carpet business changed a lot, and the conservative Afghan people, who made only rugs before red and black and with field design and nothing specially. Now they changed a lot, and they make now rugs which are going with the trend, and they go with the demand of today. Today, the customer is the boss. We don't, as Graham said, or who said it, we are not allowed to tell the people what they should buy. They have to buy. They tell us. And in this regard, Afghanistan has a very good success during the last few years, we'll say 20 years. For me, in wholesaler, because there was a question, how about what for do you need wholesale? Wholesale today is in Afghanistan especially, or with Afghanistan especially, where I need it, because nobody of the buyers go to Afghanistan. Times are over when people went to India, to Iran, and bought container-wise. Everybody wants to have a small store. And this is the place where the wholesale is more important today than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. We have a big issue, a big problem is our production. This is very, very, very important. We always want to make new things, new structures, new designs, new colors. And for that, we travel to Afghanistan, not for buying. We have our people, they buy in Herat, they buy in Andhoi, they buy in Kabul and in Mazar. But we go to Afghanistan to try to make something better, something new, which goes with the marketing trend. I personally was last year 3 times in Afghanistan, and my son-in-law, Christoph, was there 2 times. And this is for us a very important thing, because buying rugs, selling them for a good price is not so difficult, but having something new, and the world needs something always new. And this is our main target. Let me come to another problem, because Afghanistan should do something itself. We have today the problems, we cannot ship. The Turkish Airlines who were shipping rugs out of Kabul don't ship, don't work. And if they work for a tremendous high price. The way via Mazar and Turkmenistan and Iran is also difficult. And I heard yesterday, today, they're asking for 1 container, 20-foot container, $8,000. And in this regard, I think that KCSC, and especially the government, has to do the very best thing. Since weeks I hear, yeah, next week we have the contract with Turkish Airlines. In 2 weeks more, in 1 week more, everything will be solved. Nothing happens. This is a very big issue, and this could help a lot, not only us, but also the people of Afghanistan, because the people of Afghanistan want to leave. And we should not forget that's not only we are important, our customers are important, the weavers are important, because they continue their folk art, and they work for very, very little money, which sometimes for us European or American is a shame. Working for $1.50 or $1.75 is really a little money. And I personally have always the idea to pay more, because when I pay 10% more, the rug will cost 5% more, because 50% is material. But it doesn't work. It does not work. I can explain several things why it doesn't work. It's not a question of heart, but it's a question of organization. So the only thing what we can do and what we should do is to help these people, giving them work. Not only work, but giving them some how do you say in English, safety, which is important for everyone. I hope, are my 5 minutes over? No.
No, you're over. You're
I'm-
over. But go ahead. You're making
Pardon
good
me?
points.
Pardon me?
Keep going, Fritz. You're
I keep
over, but
going.
you have an
Yeah, I
important
keep going.
voice.
I keep going. This is the shipping, which is very important. Our help for the people to Afghanistan. Let's say the Afghanistan work has changed a lot during the last 30 years, as Graham said, as everybody said. And still it is kept his tradition, and this keeps his soul. Soul is important. For me, the work is not only important what quality it has the feeling, it has to give the character. And this is what I admire with Afghan works. And it's unbelievable that all these Turkmen people, Turkmen, Hazara, Tajik, whatever, producing works, they are ready to change their way of working for today's market. And this is one of the most important things what I want to say. And this Afghanistan should not forget, because there's almost no country having this situation as it Afghanistan has. We have also maybe a problem with the internet. Internet is a big issue and is getting more and more. And we are also selling to internet stores. The problem is only one thing. An Indian work can be made 100 pieces in one photo. We have in Afghanistan, in order to keep our individuality, we have to make photos from each work for the internet stores. And this is this comes to for the wholesaler. The wholesaler must follow this demand, because an Afghan work should keep his individuality. And for that, we have to make photos from each work for the internet store. This is work, this is effort, this is costly, but this is the future, to my opinion.
Thank you, Fritz. Thank you very, very much.
I thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Take care of yourself. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
So also thank you from me, and I will pass over to Stefan Amstadt, who is category manager for rugs at the Swiss furniture chain Möbel Pfister, and he will tell you everything about the European retail trade. Yes. So Stefan, I would love to hand this over to you. Du musst noch den Ton einschalten, bitte.
So now, did you hear me?
Wonderful. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you for having me. I'm very thankful to be a part of it. Maybe just a few words about Pfister. Pfister is a retail shop, was founded 1882, so it's quite old, and today is the biggest furniture store dealer in Switzerland. We have 18 branches and overall 1,200 employees. Since February 2020, we are joined the group for XXX Lutz, the world's second biggest furniture group after IKEA. We have also an online store, and with over 40,000 products of our own online shop. Is one of the biggest as well for furniture and accessories. In our branches, we have dedicated carpet departments, which we source the carpet across the rock belt from Morocco to Nepal with our own buyers. And we are also a member of Label Step. We offer our customers brands like Jan Cut, Rockstar, but we have also private labels like Atelier Pfister, which we produce with our suppliers together.
Now here.
Our sales are mainly 65% are handmade carpets, hand knotted carpets. Unfortunately, and also in Switzerland, we had COVID lockdown during mid of March until mid of May. During this time, the online shop was very helpful to regain some of the loss which we had with the closed branches. We sold mainly cheaper hand-woven carpets, but also
I'm looking, and I can't see for looking. You know what I mean?
Someone is speaking.
Yeah.
But also hand-knotted carpets. But I think online shop will be always a little bit cheaper because you have to see carpets, you have to touch carpets, and this is only possible in real life, in a store. Even with the best pictures, it's not the same to really enjoy a carpet. Mid of May, we restarted after the COVID lockdown, and we thought maybe there will be 2 weeks very busy, the customers will come back, and then it will be about 2 weeks, and then it goes slower. But it wasn't 2 weeks. Since the reopening, we have a very busy time, and it's very happy to be like this. I think our customers spend the money which they can't spend on holidays, or they can't go to eat. They spend it now for furniture and as well for carpets. Our sales are in all price ranges strong, but especially in the top end, we have a huge gain of sales. Carpets like Goom Silk, Iranian carpets like Goom Silk or Nine, Shishla, Charla, we sell very, very well these days. Also, Afghan carpets are selling well before and also after the lockdown. We have the last few years a big increase with Afghan carpets, and we are doing very well. We started a few years ago with kilims and a lower price, but now we have also in the whole range of Afghan carpets in our stock. At the moment, Afghan carpets are the second, after Iran, the second important origin carpet in our stock, together with Nepal. So it's quite important at the moment for us, Afghan. I think one of the key points for the success of Afghan carpets is the thickness and the color effects, these lovely colors which they can produce with a good wool. I think our customer like as well the soft touch and overall, as I said, the thinness of the carpets. With the modern colors, they fit very well in their homes. Also, one major factor, especially for me as a buyer, is the possibility to order own designs to make something for our needs with colors, designs, for our, like the private labels. The possibility to do something with the producer is very, very helpful. And I think as well, the future for Afghan carpets is bright and strong, as long the quality management of the wool, the dyeing, the weaving, the washing, the finishing, all steps needs to be take very care, and it needs to be good, because cheap is everywhere possible. It needs to be a good quality, as Mr. Langnauer said, a carpet with soul, and then the future will be bright. For us, is the biggest selling points with Afghan carpets is to do something by our own, to do our own colors, to do our own designs. This is very helpful. By example, it's not possible in Iran. It takes too long time, and Afghan is very good in this perspective. At the moment, we have the same problems with the transport and to get the goods in Switzerland to send it to our branches. Yes, this is overall my presentation.
Thank you, Stefan.
Very good.
It was very interesting and very detailed. Thank you a lot. Now we switch from Europe to the United States. I would like to ask Jack Simmentop from Art Resources in Los Angeles to tell us something about the situation on the US wholesale market. It might be also interesting for you to know that Jack is now responsible for the Rug Show, and I'm quite sure he will tell us something about this also. So I would like to hand over to Jack. Almost. We can see.
Jack, you're muted.
Yes.
Okay.
There you go. There you go.
I didn't want you to hear all the noise background at that time. Good afternoon to ones who are afternoon, and good morning to the US crowd. I'm sorry, I don't know exactly how to get rid of this background. So if you see this background, I just don't know how to get rid of it.
It doesn't matter, it looks quite funny.
It is funny. But anyway, thanks for the invitation. I'm going to be taking a few moments to talk about the Rug Show. As you know, we in the US, we decided that the show needed a management who cares about the needs of the industry instead of these big corporations, or that their main goal is to make money. So as such, a while back, a few years back, we decided to create the Rug Show. And ever since then, the late Ramin was spearheading this and was doing a great job. Fortunately, as you may know, he's passed away. And one of his last wishes was that I want to make sure that I want the Rug Show to continue. And that has been also the wish of many other participants and exhibitors alike. So as such, I have made a point to make sure that this will happen. It will be a show that will encompass the whole industry, and I'm working toward making that happen. I can tell you that it will be a huge national show covering, the entire area rug covering industry, which will ultimately include some high-end machine-made rugs as well. Unfortunately, as you know, the situation of the world, we are in an impasse as to knowing how and when to start planning for the next show. A lot of people have called me asking me when is going to be the next show. One of the things that we all know is that a show should be safe. A show should be beneficial, not only to the exhibitors, but to the attendees. At this time, I can't tell when all of these will happen. We are going to be taking consensus of different industry leaders, a lot of wholesalers, manufacturers, and attendees to find out when everybody is going to be comfortable doing that. Another way that I have thought is, since this is comparatively a very small boutique show, we should take our decision by other bigger shows who have who are going to be doing their research. They have more people to find out when it's going to be a successful show, And once they start, we will be following them, and we'll be announcing the show as soon as possible. A roadblock in that is that a lot of shows are canceled. A lot of people are waiting just like we are. So once this becomes an environment that everybody is allowed and can have a safe show, there's going to be a rush to have these shows. And as I have learned, the bigger shows will be able to book the better places. So we will probably have a hard time getting, for example, where we have been, which is Javits or the LA Convention Center. But we will be, either way, we will be booking a venue that can hold all of us. And I know that it is going to probably be our biggest show once we do the next show. So I invite everybody to give me their thoughts from this point on, to let us know what they think as far as the Rug Show is concerned. My other hat that I put on is I am a partner with my brother Eddie in Art Resources, which we wholesale rugs in US and many other parts of the world. I have noticed that our problem from India has been, obviously, as you all know, the airline rates have been crazy. So all of our special orders have cost a lot more, which that is bearable. But containers that we bring in periodically, every month and a half or so, we have a container that is coming. And the problem has been that there are no containers in Bombay. If you want to book, you have to be lucky, and more important, people usually have the first available containers to stuff their merchandise in. And as such, that has been a big problem, merchandise coming from India. And Pakistan is, that has been a lot better for us. We have been able to ship goods from Pakistan. Fortunately, a couple of months ago, they opened the borders with Afghanistan, and we have been able to get the Afghan-produced rugs to be finished and shipped out of Pakistan. That's all I got. I'd like to take a moment to thank all the people who have made this possible. This is not a easy thing to do. So thank you very much for all the people, especially that gentleman sitting underneath. How you doing, Lou? You have done a great job making this happen, and I really appreciate you helping and doing all of these things. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you also, Jack. And I will hand over to Sam, who is the owner of the Rug Gallery in Cincinnati, to tell us everything about the situation and prospects in the US retail. So Sam?
Hi everyone, I just wanted to say this is a great idea. I've gotten very energized and a lot more hopeful. It's kind of, I agree with everybody. It's not having that contact and not having sharing of ideas and what's going on, and sharing the life experiences and what's going on in everybody's different field. And so a lot of people know me, a lot of people don't. I've been doing this my entire life. I started at 20 years old in the rug business all by accident, and fell totally in love with it. Fritz, thank you for that word, soul. That's the word that I use constantly and really believe is, you know, great part of what we do as far as manufacturing and weaving hand-knotted carpets. Been at it for almost 50 years. We have a 21,000 square foot facility in Cincinnati. Cincinnati is the middle of America. It's kind of what you would call what most people are in America. We're not, you know, from East Coast, West Coast. Sorry, Jack. Anybody from the East Coast, I don't mean to offend you or anything like that, especially Graham. Great guy. But you know, we've been stocking rugs. I think that was always key to retail, especially with brick and mortar, was to, you know, have it, you know, and you can never have enough. And we always thought it was a great investment. Well, we soon learned that's not the case anymore, and it's what the consumer wants. It's not what we think the consumer wants. I mean, a lot of my great ideas are more, you know, my ideas, but a lot of times they don't, you know, have success. Let's put it that way. But I'm passionate about what I do, and I love, you know, buying, and I love new things. I love change. So if you look at me, I'm not a guy who, somebody asked me a long time ago, what are you? So I'm a merchant, so I sell. I mean, whatever people want, that's what I buy. I can switch very quickly from gears. We stock used to stock about 4,000, we're down to about 3,000 rugs. We've eliminated a lot of our stocks over the last several years.
And now you're muted.
So I'm not sure where I got left off at, but like I said, we stock about 3,000 rugs. We have about 18 employees. We have a full service. We do cleaning, repair, appraisal work, whatever you would need to maintain or help with carpets. We do about 35% of our business at the design trade. We've always been very successful in marketing ourselves at the design level. Of course, that's changing over the last several years with the internet and people selling directly to designers, which has really been a very big challenge for us. But again, it's all about, you know, knowledge of product and service, and the customization is such a key, I can't express enough, part of where the future goes for us as far as brick and mortar, especially retailers, especially dealing with the design trade, being able to make something quickly. That's a challenge right now with everything we discussed with the freight, as well as what the COVID has impacted. I want to say we were also closed for 7 weeks. We lost a lot of money. We have not made that back. So we pretty much suspended all buying until recently. In the last couple of weeks, we have proceeded to tell people who we had orders in with that they can go ahead and ship them now. So business has been extremely strong. I mean, it's kind of crazy. We have been doing it, I think maybe different than a lot of retailers, in that we are going only by appointment. So we started out at the middle of May, just doing 1 appointment an hour. And then we went to June, and then we went to 2 appointments an hour. We have a big store, so it's easy to spread out in that situation. We have all kinds of protocol as far as, you know, keeping clean and healthy. We now have gone in July to 3 an hour, and basically it's beautiful. I don't know how to explain it, but we actually go by appointment. So we have this Gigabook thing. We totally redid our website during the pandemic. So we've got a lot more capacity as far as contacting, chatting. We're Instagram. That's a huge part of our business today, showing you what we can do. I just love what the technology is allowing us to do that we're not able to do in the past. And with the time spent from being, you know, thinking about what we can do, it's been very energizing. I have to say that I could keep on going this way. I don't know if that's humanly possible. I mean, retail is retail, and you're supposed to open the doors and be there when everybody wants to come in. We've limited our hours during this whole thing, but business has been good, and I think the consumer has changed. I think I would have to say that I think there may be some plus. This is again my hopeful wishing, but I think there is a plus in that a lot of people are realizing how important their local people are, and that their restaurants and their hotels and their entertainment people. And I think there's a lot of people waking up and realizing how hurt everybody was. And I think that that has also influenced them to think about, well, maybe they're going to give business to somebody local as opposed to doing it online, and especially with the tactile situation with textiles and rugs and knowing quality, can't really judge online. I think that also plays to our favor. I'm very hopeful that we will see a new consumer going forward, and I feel very positive, which is, I think I'm hearing from everybody. I'm glad to hear everybody's experiencing good business and improvement. We hope we can keep it going. We're not sure, what happens with COVID, but we're very cautious and still very cautious how we run our business day to day. We open full-blown retail again, probably. Just not sure if it's going to be this year. I don't know, maybe next year. I just think we're going to run and take it as it comes. I've always been that way in life. I've always been a risk taker. I've always been willing to try something new. And this by appointment only is really a nice thing. You can actually see who's coming in every day. We track all our phone calls, so we know how many phone calls we're getting input from consumers, how many people are walking up to the door and requesting to come in because they didn't know we were running by appointment. We've been accommodating all of them so far. I mean, we've been very capable of doing that. And we have enough, like I said, we have about 18 employees, so we have enough capacity to take care of anything. Our installation, our customization. We make a lot of rugs from carpet. I know you rug guys don't hear that, but that's a major part of our business, and it has been for a while. Whereas we take woven carpets, it could be hand loomed and hand knotted. It doesn't matter to us what it is. We will make that into whatever you want to make, a staircase or special size. We make huge sizes or shapes. So I think retail is evolving. I think that maybe our business is a little different, more upper end than some, even though we sell all the way down to machine made. People don't realize that. We started about $600 for a 9x12 size, and machine made polypropylene, polyester, I call it. Very strong business there. Of course, consumers don't want to spend a lot of money for a carpet. They want the maintenance of something synthetic or something you can't stain. And then we go all the way up to about $9,000 or $10,000 for the same size as far as stocking rugs. And so we have sweet spots, as every retailer does, as far as what consumers are wanting. And hand knotted, the sweet spot for you hand knotted guys, you might be surprised at retail, but it works from about $2,000 to about $5,000 at 9x12. So you're talking anywhere between the neighborhood of, I guess, $20 a square foot retail to $50 at retail, which would probably equate to about a fourth of that at wholesale manufacturing selling. So that's kind of where we're at. I think we also wanted to say, I think also as far as design goes, I've seen the millennial generation be a lot more sophisticated. They're changing, they're evolving like we all did. So you live long enough, you'll look just like me eventually. So good luck. This is just happens. This is life. As you age, you mature and you learn what you don't like. You made some mistakes, and you improve on those mistakes. So I think we're beginning to see that change in this younger generation buying houses. It's a boom in America as far as houses. This pandemic has been incredibly enriching home furnishings and for rugs and carpets. And I want everybody to be aware of that don't look down your shoes and woe is me type of thing. it is just the opposite. It's going, whoa, how am I going to keep up with all this? I think that's what I want to express to everybody, is that it's a very positive situation after the cruelty of what's happened with the pandemic as far as loss of life and people. I think we're very fortunate here in our part of the world, but I'm sure other parts of the world, like New York, everyone see that. I spent my whole life growing up in New York, visiting New York, and I don't know how to express my sincere condolences on what went on. And Afghanistan, everybody wants to talk about Afghanistan. It doesn't mean anything to me. I have to say that if we're buying Afghanistan carpets, it's probably come from the people from Pakistan. And we're not really aware, it's not labeled that way. I'm told things. I'm not sure that I prove that or not prove that, or where it came from. I think Les did a great job on the Gazani, whatever you want to call it. Is that a real thing? So I think that, you know, I got to say that I believe what Michael said about it is the last frontier. I mean, I hate to say that because there's still a lot of other frontiers out there going strong with lots of population, like India. So thank you, India. Thank you, Gaurav, for your information. I sympathize with the wholesaling, manufacturing side. It's totally different at retail, but without you guys, so thanks everybody, and stay positive and stay in touch, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Thank you a lot for the detailed insight and assessment. As we have no questions and the time is running, I would like to say thank you to all the speakers. It was very interesting. It was a pleasure to guide you through the segment, and I would like to hand over to Rob Lee. So thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Tim. Very much appreciated, and all of you and everyone on your panel. Thank you very much. We haven't been getting many questions, but afterwards, if you want to send questions to that, questions@kcec.af, we will endeavor to answer them directly. Things such as contact information, anything that you may want. I'd like now to turn the mic over to Lucy Upward, who is the editor of Cover Magazine. I would say in many ways the most important voice for style and design trends in our business right now, and particularly on the contemporary side. So Lucy, thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for that flattering description, Rob. Yeah, I get handed the trends speech, which is probably a bit more cheerful, or I don't know, in this time, possibly more positive thinking. It's a weird time to talk about trends, as probably most of you have been selling stock or not selling anything or not getting any new products through to your galleries. So it feels a bit of a weird time to talk about trends. I was going to reflect just a second on the fashion industry, because it seems that the fashion industry was going through a crazy time prior to COVID, where lots of big names were closing because companies couldn't keep up with the demand of producing collections, but they're not selling enough. And then COVID hit, and now we see that the fashion industry is really going through a big change, and companies like Gucci and whoever are not going to be producing 5 collections anymore a year. They're going to be producing 2. And the catwalk shows that we see all the time there's going to be less. So it's a massive change for the fashion industry. And I wonder, in terms of trends, that has a filtering effect on the rest of, things like interiors. Sorry, my voice is really bad today. There's a lot of sort of anti-fashion voices out there. So somebody like trend forecaster Lee Edelcourt recently said, I put it in my article, I'm just going to quote it, She said, I'm hopeful for another and better system to be put in place with more respect for human labour and conditions. There's potential for people who've reflected a lot over this time and haven't been able to produce lots of stuff to think differently for the future. Do we need all this stuff? Do we need lots of collections to be produced every year? So could the same be in interiors? I don't know. If you look at the profile of younger generations, like the millennials and Generation X, Z, they're very much into individual and sustainability and anything that isn't a mass product. So it seems maybe we might move that way. I'm not going to look at sort of color trends and things like that. So just share more ideas about how social change will influence design. So how COVID has changed trends a bit, or could change trends a bit, because I don't really have insight. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to put a very short presentation up. I hope it works. Oh yes, okay, it is going to work. It is going to work. It is going to work, right? Sorry, everybody. No. Lost. No.
Did you see the share screen button at the bottom? Did you hit that?
Yeah, sorry. Yes, I'm just trying to share screen. I don't want to share my screen when actually. Right.
There you go. We can see it.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, I can't really see much else. That was not the first page. Okay, so this was my topic, and identifying design trends in an uncertain world. We are in an uncertain world. For a while, I'd say, we had art, rugs, and we had transitional designs, and then lots of people said, "Oh, when's the next trend coming from? What's the next big thing?" And I think there's just been myriad sort of mini trends going off in different directions. There's been no one big movement. I think there's so much available in rugs, so lots of styles have been popular. I think there's been a lot of rehashing of things. There's a lot of transitional designs out there. There's a lot of repeats. There's a lot of exciting stuff too. But I think some companies are coming up with really fresh ideas, and there are a lot of companies coming up with fresh ideas. I just used 3 examples here because these are 3 companies, CC Tapis, Atelier Fevrier and Rugstar, who have really amazing brand identities and really clear design directions, which get a lot of attention and get people really interested. So when we're thinking about what's going to happen, it's hard to know, really. But, for the last several months, people have been selling stock, which makes you think, do people need incessant new designs to come out if actually people are happy to buy designs that have been around for a year or so? Just a thought, but I know that we will always be looking for new designs. From experience, we know in times of hardship, people, there can be periods of great creativity and innovation coming out of difficult times. People are also looking for comfort and cocooning in their homes, as Tim used the word cocooning. And also people can revert back to things they know well, so tradition. So there were 7 areas I thought I'd look at very briefly. I'm not going to drag it on, but so I said individualism, customs and tradition, well-being, material innovation, outside, inside, creating zones, and clean design. These are just ideas. So I've used, for individualism, I've used CC Tapis and Hensel Studio, just because they're slightly crazy and they're designed by outside designers and artists, but really, I guess, individualism is about exactly that, your choice of what you want, not following a trend. People increasingly don't want to buy it off the peg. There's an increase in custom design, an increase in artist collaborations with rug companies and limited edition rugs, companies like CC and Hensel and many others. It could be that, you know, if you want a one-off design, if you want something very different, you might go for one-off vintage, one-off traditional. I think there's this idea that everyone's home, increasingly young people are obsessed with their individual look. So I think that will increase as Generation Z grows up. It's just rejecting this idea that you have to follow anything and just moving towards what you like, what you want. Second trend, custom tradition. So previous to COVID, I was talking about people increasingly buying traditional. That's often traditional with a twist, not always a traditional, truly traditional rug. But if you talk to some companies like Knott's Rugs in a London brand, they have their 17th century collection, which this rug is one of. Bonnie at Knott's has said that she's increasingly getting people asking for her to copy an old design, an antique design, but in custom size. So people don't want to really put up with the size of an old rug, but they want the design. Then there's Rugstar with a new tribal, which is tufted in a crazy shape. And Olk Manufactory, who is a Ukrainian design. That's a sort of twist on tradition. My third trend is well-being, because that's massive. Prior to COVID, well-being was a $1 trillion industry across the world. And now it's just set to get bigger because we're all even more obsessed with health, well-being. We're looking at comfort, function, safety, and health. It's moving well-being forward even further. So here I highlight Daniel Costa's yak weaving, yak rugs, non-toxic materials. There's Shaw Rugs who make these rugs from silicone cord. They are anti-fatigue and are meant to be good for the feet. And Sumac Alpaca, this idea of comfort and luxury, sort of treating yourself well by surrounding yourself with beautiful things, softness. This feeds into the ideas of sustainability and eco factors, because you don't really want toxic materials in your house. And also ideas about luxury and what luxury is. Luxury for people increasingly is good materials, well-made, happy makers, happy planet, buying less and buying well. Fourth one is material innovation, which is sort of part of what I was talking about. Young designers are increasingly looking at materials they're making their designs out of. It's no longer just normal for people just to think of the nearest and easiest material. There's a lot of upcycling. Young generations want to think differently and think about materials. So Simone Post's Adidas rugs made of upcycled trainers. Not collected PET rugs. There's a lot of PET rugs around. The Econil rug by Sarah Waggy and Isabella Morris with Econil fiber. That's Econil you're seeing increasingly now as a fiber that can be endlessly upcycled. I think people are going to start thinking like that. The young generation certainly are. We might not be as older people, but the younger people are. I included Rugture there because this is an interesting guy who designs his rugs he's an architect by training, and he uses an architectural software to design how the design his rug fits into a room. So it's all to do with the movement in the room. Number 5 is outside inside. I did a trend of this in Cover Magazine just because people are increasingly spending time inside, and even more now with COVID. In the winter 2017 issue of Cover, I did a report on the Heim Textile Trend book. And in that it said 90% of our time is spent indoors. And I think COVID has made that increasingly so. So we're all inside. Over lockdown, people were buying a lot more plants for their homes. I think this idea of bringing the outside in through things you bring into your home, decoration, so fabrics and rugs is a possible idea for this as we spend more time inside, increasing. So there's French Accents, whose recent retro bloom rug there. Brivenly is an older design by Jonas Wood, and Inigo Elizalde's rather intricate design. Number 6, creating zones. So yes, as we are cocooning and spending our time inside and redoing our interiors and reshaping them, because we're going to be working here, and we're going to be playing here, and we're going to be doing everything in the home. People are going to have to be creating zones in their house. You might have a very open plan house, but you suddenly have to create different zones. And this might see it at an increase in sort of smaller rugs or differently shaped rugs, or more rugs that just have to create a zone in an awkward space. So that might be something we see increasing as people are working at home. And my last point is about clean design. They're not the most illustrative of pictures, but of course with COVID, we think about cleanliness. I was watching a WGSN trend report recently, and they were saying that we might see an increase of people just going for white for their interiors because they're just kind of into cleanliness and this idea of cleaning up germs. So we might see an increase in white designs. It might affect rugs too, and also easy to clean. Things that are easy to clean. So those are my 7 points. And I will stop my share. Thank you. So I have 2 people to join me for my section. The first being George Harounian of Rug Warehouse, a regulate all rug-related events. He is a 3rd generation rug expert and has been in the business for 44 years in areas of import, wholesale, antiques, and running a specialty rug and carpet store. So shall I hand over to you, George? Would you like to give your input?
Sorry, I just unmuted myself. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. And I like to thank Rob and the organizers of this event. I think the event is a prime testimony that human beings need to communicate, need to talk to each other, need to learn from each other, and technology in its service. I have not prepared the speech, but I'm going to comment on various issues that was discussed and was assigned to me. As far as the state of the business, I want to start by saying this. It was mentioned by Ryan Higgins and Fritz Langar about the resiliency of the Tibetan people and the Afghani people and what they have gone through in recent history. I also like to add to that the positiveness of American people. Saying that means that what we are facing right now we will either adapt to it as we have, or good times will come again. I believe that the issue of cocooning that Fritz Langer and others mentioned is very true, but add to that is the fear and concern for future. A lot of people are not back to the market, although they want to buy rugs, because they are concerned about what will happen to their kids in schools, or in our case, the upcoming elections in the United States. These are all concerns that sort of hit the rug business. I would like to say that we were closed, we were locked down for 3 months, from mid-March to early June. But from June and July, I think we have, in August, we have hit almost 60% of our best month, which was actually March of 2020. So I think business is there, and we are going to do better, obviously with adaptation. Future of sales, I would like to bring up again the issue of technology. In the past few months, in our case, in our business, the use of online sales has increased. We have sold more rugs online, although we are a brick and mortar business, than before. We definitely offer very good deals online, so to attract customers from different parts of the country. I would like to say a couple of words about what our business is. Sam also mentioned we are the same. I've been selling carpets for, I would say, about 15 years now. And carpet and rugs are definitely complementary businesses, which I suggest everybody to think about. We do broad installation, but also we make carpets to the size, special sizes that customer needs. As to the source countries, I would like to share with everybody, at least in our case, what is selling. First of all, our business is about 50-60% retail, 40 to 50% designer business. So the two countries that we are very much reliant on, one is Afghanistan, Afghani goods, and one is India. Afghani goods, because they, as was mentioned by Fritz, they have a feel, they have a look that appeals to the sixth sense of the customer, and they love the dyes, the feel of the wool, and the way the design is not so perfect. And Indian goods, because they offer such a value. It was talked about clean look by Lucy a few minutes ago. India offers that clean, simple look, and we've been selling those for, I would say, a few years now. That a lot of the design in American homes in West Coast or Los Angeles homes are very simple. People want that clean feel to it. I like to add to that another aspect is that the old rugs and the old look is very much a part of our business. I mean, if we can get nice old rugs, and you might have heard the worn look, it is very important. That's why Afghanistan is an addition to that sourcing. Another point to add here regarding what I see future is that since I stopped traveling a few years ago to India and now to the shows, buying through photos has become, for all of us, a very important way of doing things. Selling through photos has become a very important way of doing it. Of course, when we sell, we show few photos of a rug, but from our reliable sources that we know for 30, 40 years, just a simple photo with the explanation of what the quality is the way to do it. So that's another example of how technology has added to our business. Overall, I am positive for future. I would like to tell our friends in Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, Turkey, and as well as Iran, where I was born, that the future is good. We will sell more rugs in future. I am somebody who's at the twilight of my business career. I am concerned and interested about who will sell rugs, who would be crazy enough to start a rug business. Of course, I'm saying that jokingly, but definitely I use the term Americanization of the rug business. It's now rugs will be selling more professionally with young people who are interested in fashion and design. One word about fashion and what Lucy was showing, with all due respect, none of those rugs except the last one I can sell. In other words, I believe that the dominant market is the traditional look with soft colors for us. I'd like to add and close with this, that I believe that the contemporary look, the modern look is overdone. The market is full of it, and the interest of the customers into contemporaries, in our case, has decreased. The transitional look with the soft colors and even with some reds and navies and some warm colors is back and is still selling. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you and hear from everybody again. Thanks.
Thank you, George. Thanks for your perspective. I agree that many people are starting to look away from contemporary and back to tradition, which is why I included my category, traditional. So on to Lisa Clappy. Lisa has been in the hand-woven rug business in Houston, Texas for more than 25 years. With her partner, Mehdi Abedi, she owns and operates Pride of Persia Rug Company and Postmodern Traditions Custom and Contemporary Rug Gallery. She holds a doctorate from the Rice University, writes articles for interior design and rug industry publications, and teaches courses on rugs. So I'd like to welcome Lisa for her view on what's selling at the moment.
Hi, Lucy. Thank you so much for the introduction. I wanted to thank everyone for thinking of me to include in the panel. And I did want to respond a little bit to your fashion statement. One of the trends that I've seen among designers has been an interest in emerald green, which is something we've never seen before. And I think we can thank New York Fashion Week in February, which was probably one of the last big in-person events for that. I've seen designers coming in with plans to paint a major wall emerald green, to include, say, an emerald green Chesterfield couch, other major furnishings, and now they're looking for rugs to go with that. I think it'll pass, but fashion does have some influence in the moment of rugs, not necessarily in the long-term life, however. As Lucy mentioned, I've been in the rug business for basically all of my adult life. And we started out, like a lot of people did, with a traditional rug company, Pride of Persia Rug Company, and started with basically antique Persian rugs. We expanded into the contemporary rug market, as we had to, and have really fallen in love with Nepali products. But like George was saying, though, we've seen a strong resurgence of interest in traditional designs, and particularly in antique Persian rugs. That part of our market had been rather dormant for some time, but it's now really coming back to life. And to me, the most surprising aspect of this trend is that younger people are leading the upswing. My partner and I have been in this business long enough to have served more than one generation from the same family, and now children of our clients are choosing more traditional rugs. There seems to be some sense of comfort and stability in having an older rug that has survived all the trials and tribulations one would expect to occur in a lifetime or two, and young people are gravitating toward, in that sense, more traditional design. I think a lot of us are looking for some sense of comfort, and for younger people that can be what they grew up with. Now, in conjunction with this rediscovery of traditional worlds, we're finding that clients have an openness to what I'll say is creative repurposing of rugs. For instance, we've been refashioning antique open field Kerman rugs, especially those with some kind of damage that makes them unsuitable for our ordinary or intended use on the floor, into really striking, beautiful stair runners. And this has been great for our service division. We can find uses for previously undesirable rugs, and that saves a rug and it satisfies a client. It also, though, keeps our employees engaged in not merely repairing rugs, but participating in the creation of what's then a new piece. Michael Christie has been right to focus on the plight of weavers on the production side, but on the retail side, labor, and whether that's purely physical labor to highly skilled, remains an often overlooked aspect of our industry. I think everybody speaking today is involved in some way as an owner or an executive, but labor keeps our business running. We need people to do the actual physical work, and there's always work to be done in a rug shop. These days, with fewer customers coming in, we've had time and opportunity and the sheer necessity to innovate, which has kept our team not only busy, but paid. So I think that addresses a sustainability issue, not just in the larger sense, but also in the very particular economic sense of sustaining our business and sustaining our employees. So on the contemporary side, though, and because we do have both of those aspects to our business, we're seeing sales that are driven by older clients. And often these are people who have always had traditional rugs in their homes, but who have this newfound openness now to loving rugs as pieces of visual art. At the same time, they're in kind of the deacquisitioning stage of wanting less stuff, but having things with more meaning. And I think this is particularly true for older clients who've moved from the single family homes where they raised their kids and had families into smaller homes where, you know, they think they'll spend, you know, maybe that last phase of their life, or even to high rises, which are of course very different than the homes that they've always had. And then consequently, they're excited about doing something different in this phase of life. They're becoming excited about sustainability and environmental and social justice, in part because thinking of such matters includes them in solving larger problems that seem maybe on an individual level so daunting and unsolvable. It gives them a way to feel like they're participating. And I think this is a connection shared increasingly by buyers across age groups and across rug categories. Now, as Graham mentioned earlier, there seems to be a definite sense that the art of the carpet is being better appreciated these days. And I find that people are more willing to stretch their idea of what a rug should look like and how it should function in their daily lives. People now are looking for rugs to love. They're thinking of them as works of art rather than merely furnishings. And guess what brings the most joy to their homes? Art for the floor and art for the wall. And they want these pieces to be special. They want them to speak to each other and to them as homeowners in interesting, unexpected ways that evoke emotion. And the emotion they want more than anything right now is happiness. So I agree with Lucy that, you know, the trends section might be the most uplifting of all. I do see that people are still excited about hand-woven rugs, and not just as luxury items. As we heard Tim mention earlier, people are cocooning. They want the home to be a place they feel safe. They want it to be the happy place when, you know, so much that's happening in the rest of the world is disturbing, uncertain, definitely not joyful. And I think we're all in a good position to be able to offer them something that brings that comfort and peace of mind that is so difficult to find outside.
Thank you very much, Lisa. That was wonderful. Oh, I'm sorry. Take it, Lucy. Lucy, we're running out of time. We have a hard ending at 12:30, unfortunately. So we need to hand it over to Reto.
Okay, I just wanted to say thank you to Lisa and George, and we all agree that traditional is kind of back, and the search for happiness and comfort is also driving us. So thank you to both of them, and thank you for inviting me to do this.
You're very welcome, Lucy. Thank you very much. In the interest of time, because we have a hard ending at 12:30, unfortunately, we ran a little long. I would like to hand this over to Reto, please.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for having me. Thanks for everyone at KCEC for organizing this. Certainly one of the more interesting Zoom meetings of lately. As you might know, STEP is the non-profit organization promoting fair trade in handmade carpets, improving weavers and workers' living and working conditions, and contributing to a thriving, sustainable handmade rug industry. So in the past few weeks and months, this meant providing emergency relief to weavers for us. STEP has distributed food aid and hygiene packages to more than 10,000 weavers and their families in Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, and Nepal. As you probably know, most weavers are paid by the knot. So when global supply chains as well as orders collapsed, as they did in the last couple of weeks and months, those weavers were left without earnings almost immediately. And as artisans working in an informal sector, they also have no social security networks other than their families. We also have to keep in mind that most weavers are women. Many live in rural areas under very modest circumstances. Many are migrant workers or refugees. Often they are the only breadwinner in the family. So this pandemic put them in a very difficult situation, to say the least. It's encouraging to see today that the industry and market is alive, creative, and hopefully able to place as many orders as possible as soon as possible. Because right now, providing jobs is the single most important and helpful thing for weavers. Now, if there's one positive thing about this pandemic, it's that many people are taking the opportunity to take a step back and reflect the situation and try to see the bigger picture. At this point, I also think it's only fair to acknowledge the progress that has been made in this industry in the past few years, as for example, a huge reduction in child labor or significant increase in weavers' wages. But still, there's huge challenges ahead. with machine-made carpets ever improving, how does this industry continue to find a market and buyers for handmade rugs? We at STEP, and it seems from today's panel, many people out there think that what Ryan called the human component is key to this industry. So in order to still find people who want to weave those rugs, we must further increase the attractiveness of the job. And I know it's difficult, and probably I'm not going to make only friends in the industry when I keep saying that we have to continue increasing wages. There's no other way. If we want to have weavers in the future, we have to pay better wages. We have to make the jobs better. We have to increase social security, because otherwise we might still have people who want to buy the rugs, but we don't have any people who actually weave those rugs. I'm really cutting this short to be finished at Rob's time. I just want to conclude by saying that STEP will of course continue to stand by your side to keep this industry and culture alive. We're looking forward to work with you, finding solutions for a healthy, sustainable future for handmade rugs and the rugs weavers. Thank you so much again, Rob, and everyone at KCC. It was a pleasure and an honor to be with you.
Thank you, Reto. I really do appreciate the time. Sorry to rush you there, but we had a lot. As I said, an ambitious agenda. There's a few minutes left. I believe we have a hard ending at 12:30. We've endeavored to extend the length of the meeting here, but we don't know if it'll work or not. So I'm going to thank all of you for your time and devotion to our business. And I'm going to pass it off to Les Stroh for a few comments to the end. But if he gets caught off, I apologize to you, Les. And again, thank you to everyone.
Les, you're muted. Can you unmute? Can you unmute?
While Les is trying to figure out, hi, I'm his daughter, Sarah. Dad, you're unmuted now.
There he is. He's good.
Okay. Look, it was great. I've known Graham Head for a while. I sponsored him for his green card. And that's probably the last time we agreed completely on anything. But he got it right. I'm going to also say that what I hear in the market is the red and blue is dead. That I hear red and blue is in the illiquid. There's about $3 to $5 billion worth of red and blue lying in warehouses, and that red and blue is coming back. We first saw it on stages and musical halls 2-3 years ago. I'm also going to say that we support Label STEP completely, and there's our article on COVID with Label STEP back in March. For the April issue. We're totally on board. We hear there's more about Label STEP coming. Reto is completely right as the conscience of the industry, and we should pay more attention to him. The labor supply is very simple. The market is very simple. It's rich women buying from poor women. It's a supply chain. The money has to flow the other way. An impoverished society cannot invest in the goods in order to wait for a buyer. We have to supply money. It's a supply chain. It's no longer a bazaar. The bazaar model is dead. It's never coming back. Customization is, and whether it's size or color or design, is obviously the way to go. There is industrial customization in industrial tufting, and there's even affordable tufting in the United States, so that this is not just an international business, it's a strong domestic business as well. Sam Presnell is right, Broadloom, Bound, and Surge is a business, and it's going to become a bigger business, and it competes well with the internet. We think new to market. The trade shows originally were our vehicle for new to market. We think technology is going to replace a lot of that effort. We're already seeing it. There's a picture someplace of somebody at market selling a rug on a telephone to somebody else, but why that showroom had to be in a market or in your own, very few vendors have a showroom in their own space that is set up like a market, so you could walk a telephone call through your own market. In other words, I'm off. Sarah's going to talk about design and color, but we call ourselves Rug News and Design for a reason. The market has shifted from a supply chain market to a design market, but both have to work together. Sarah, can you pick up?
Yep. What I want to talk about quickly is Jeffrey Seeger from eHill back in the early 80s gave me the best piece of advice. He said, if you love it, buy it. You might not see it again or experience it again. And what we're talking about is how are you getting your buyer to experience the rug? We talk Afghanistan, like I find hearing the stories about the women and how the supply chain is happening is what's going to sell the rug. I talk to a lot of retailers across the United States in many different industries, and what they're finding is the stories they tell through technology, through Instagram, through Facebook. And to be honest, for every 40 to 50-year-old right now who has a family, they're doing Zoom meetings, they're doing school Zoom meetings. Their time on the computer is much more limited than it used to be. But the important thing is where they're really getting to have it is that glass of wine at night and looking at their Facebook page. So as selling your rug, tell the story in little clips on Facebook. Let them feel that experience of why a custom rug is taking or a hand-knotted rug takes so long. That's so important. The best example I can say that's been doing an amazing job in print is J. Peterman, the clothing store. Have you ever read their descriptions? You want to buy their clothing because of the descriptions. You get immersed in their little paragraph story. And that's
black and white.
And it's black and white, and now they have pictures, but it's the experience. And Graham Head was right about the art of the carpet. You know, carpets are an art form, but what's even more of an art form is the story of the people behind it. And Gaurav Sharman was right about investing in technology. We can do all those things, but what we've lost is the stories of the people. And that is where I'm seeing you're going to be able to sell these hand knotted rugs a lot online, is make them feel it, talk about it, hold the rug, take them away with that glass of wine. Make the buyer feel as if they're in your showroom in Afghanistan, in India, in Nepal. That's where the excitement comes. And I have people calling me all the time asking, who do I go to? And I actually direct a lot of people to Facebook, to your Facebook websites, not the websites, because Facebook tells a story and they're going to make that connection with you on Facebook. So if you love it, buy it. My line is love it or leave it. And they're going to love you on your technology. And if they don't love you on your technology, you're not going to sell them that rug because they're not going to know to go into your showroom. So that's pretty much it. I have to say, it's a quick, short thing about rugs and selling and buying and the joy of rugs. I don't care for knot counts, to be honest. That's my dad. What I care about is telling the story of the people. So if you can figure out a way to tell the story, you also are passing a lot of other people who are trying to do rugs and sell rugs. So thank you. Love it or leave it. You're gonna succeed when you try to share your passion. Thank you.
Sarah, thank you very much. As everyone now sees, we got some extra time added. We have, if anyone does their own Zooms, make sure you have a Zoom guru to do it, because we would have had to cut you off, Sarah. It's so good to see you. You look great, and you did kind of a TikTok presentation. Perhaps I'm saying too much about myself, but it was really well thought out and a wonderful summary and send off to what we've all tried to accomplish today. Again, I do want to end with one thing, two things actually. We appreciate it for KCEC and USAID. We have really had fun with this project. The end of this year, we're going to make sure it's sustainable by leaving this business with Oxis, who is our primary subcontractor in Afghanistan. The other thing I want to leave you with is, all of you know I've been in this business a while, and I remember in 1971, Ken Mink, who was my boss at the time, told me in 1971 that these machine maids are getting so good, this business just won't make it much longer as a hand-knotted industry. Well, 50 years later, we're still here. Again, thank you, Sarah. That was wonderful. Wonderful ending. That Ken Mink, Kenneth L. Mink and Sons. They don't know who it is, but Ken was their father. Thank you so much to everyone. If this was enjoyable to see, we're getting some great comments. We'll do this again, but again, my earlier admonition, stay connected no matter what it takes. Thank you. Love you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.